Alright guys, I'm going to try this different camera angle, which might be a little weird because you're basically upside down from my view, but be that as it may, the over-the-shoulder view wasn't working too well. So, just going to take a look here, make sure this is pretty well centered. So yeah, if it feels like you've been here before, then you wouldn't be wrong. It brings to mind the Iron Maiden song Déjà Vu, which would be a great song to cover when I'm good enough. But basically I got one coat of sealer and about 2 coats of Tru Oil on this body, and my first couple of finish coats were pretty sloppy, which bothered me, but also I was looking at the finish and I just felt that there were still too many surface scratches. Let this be a lesson to you if you do wood finishing, that you cannot cut corners with this work. If you want to have a good final result, you have to lay the foundation for it with thorough and consistent prep work, and taking your time to do it right. So this is where I am. I'm not quite done with the sanding. I went back, I sanded a lot of this back with 220 and 320, and I found that that created even more surface scratches. I may have been too heavy-handed with it, may have been part of the problem. It doesn't take much pressure, you just need enough to be scratching the surface, and then you just need to have a lot of repetitions. But some of us try to circumvent that by just pressing harder, and that just causes problems with a wood like pine that is soft to begin with. So I went back, hit the areas where there was still a lot of gunk with 220 to get it off, and then I've been going over it with 400 grit here, which unfortunately there's still some finish in places and it's gunking up the paper, but I'm doing the best I can with what I have to work with. I'm hoping that this will last long enough to get most of my scratches off and get the wood evened up all the way around, and then I can switch to 600 for any final touch-ups that I need. But once again, I'm just taken with how beautiful this wood is. I'm kind of feeling humbled because, you know, I made such a stink about the crappy prep work and crappy finish work that I was redoing, and I started to do the same thing myself. So one thing I've learned is that the Lord doesn't like pride, and He will humble you, sometimes gently and humorously, and sometimes more severely. So this was more of a gentle chiding, and so for accountability's sake, I'm doing this video to show that I needed to go back and correct my poor work. And I think that when I'm done here, I think that I'll have a much better result when I go to put the finish on. So I'm not sure if this time around if I'm going to put the sealer and filler on here or not. It's kind of unnecessary on pine because you don't really have grain to fill per se, and and it also just kind of darkened the wood a little more and a little more quickly than I would have wanted. I want to kind of keep this color to the wood as much as I can. I don't mind if there's kind of an amber tint over it, but I'd like to build that tint in layers rather than have it kind of painted on the wood like a dye, if you will, which the sealers seem to do. So I think what I'm going to do is, once I get the prep work done on this, I think I'm just going to go straight in with Tru Oil and just build it up really slowly, use very thin coats, and hopefully take my time to do it right. So I'm going to let you look at this because I don't know if you can see this or not. Getting some of the gunk off the sides, which I really hadn't done very well before, has revealed some beautiful grain. Once again, I'll let you look at the end here. This is a single piece of pine. Not real common. I mean, they are out there, but most of the time you see most of these Telecaster bodies, and particularly the pine bodies, they seem to be book matched. If not, you know, sometimes even 3 or 4 piece bodies side to side, or sometimes they have, you know, like I have one that's a pine back and then the top is ash. It's actually very heavy, surprisingly. I think either the pine was kind of green and not well dried out, or it was a very heavy piece of ash, or both. But it's a lovely piece of wood. So I probably have at least a few more hours worth of work to clean this up. I haven't decided yet if I'm going to leave this edge kind of sharp like this. It does look nice. Or if I'm going to work on trying to do a round over. I'm not really sure that I can do that without messing things up. So I think I may just round it over just enough to make sure I get any excess finish or roughness out of it, and then kind of largely leave it alone. But and I'm finding too, it really helps to sand in circular motions, and to sand, like I said, with a light touch, because while you can hide a lot of things going with the grain, and that's particularly important, I feel like, when you're wet sanding, you know, some of these things still show up, especially as the sweep of your hand, unless you're extraordinarily disciplined, the sweep of your hand is not going to be straight. It's going to be more of an arc, and so you're going to have these curved lines. And if you happen to be kind of moving across, you know, even going like this and moving across, you're going to get some sideways marks. And so circular motions and increasing the grit gradually and changing your paper as needed makes a difference in terms of getting a good result. If you get too much buildup in your paper, you know, that's basically gunked up finish in here, and then you're rubbing that on your wood. So depending on how hard this is, you're just not doing anything, you're just gliding over the wood with no bite, or if it's an odd shaped chunk or a sharp chunk, you may be actually creating scratches. So it's a learning process for me, and hopefully for all of you guys as well, but it's getting better. Thank you guys for checking in. I'll have more soon, and I'll probably do another quick video when I feel like it's finished. If I get a situation where I feel like the light is good and I can tilt it every which way and help you see the hopefully lack of scratches. Thanks for checking in, guys. I'm gonna go. Please subscribe if you haven't already, and I'll talk to you guys soon. God bless.